Hello and welcome to Baiju's Exam Prep. Welcome to the big news for today. Yesterday, Myanmar's Air Force has carried out airstrikes near the India Myanmar border, and apparently a few bombs have landed in Indian territory, which has caused a lot of panic in Mizoram. This incident reflects the ongoing crisis in Myanmar and its implications for India, and in this context, we shall analyze this development in detail by talking about the security concerns along the India Myanmar border and its implications for India, particularly in the northeast region. But before we begin, please note that on the 15th of January, we shall be conducting the Baiju's National Scholarship Test, through which you stand a chance to win 90% scholarship on our IAS courses. So, those interested, do register for the test by using the link provided in the description box below, and also don't forget to subscribe to our official Telegram channel. So, reports have emerged from Mizoram that Myanmar's Air Force has carried out airstrikes targeting few rebel camps located near the India Myanmar border. During these airstrikes, a few bombs have landed accidentally in Indian territory, but fortunately, it hasn't led to any injuries or casualties on the Indian side. While India is yet to officially acknowledge or respond to the incident, reports have indicated that at least one truck on the Indian side was damaged, but fortunately, the incident hasn't led to any casualties or injuries on the Indian side. These bombings that were carried out by Myanmar's Air Force specifically targeted the Chin National Front, which is a rebel group operating in Myanmar in the Chin state, which you can see in the map over here, where an insurgent movement has been going on for several decades, led by the Christian Chin minorities, against the authoritarian military rule of Myanmar's military junta. These airstrikes were reported in this sector of the India Myanmar border, and a few bombs have landed near the Farkawan village that you see in the map, which is located in the Champai district of Mizoram. As you can see in the map, the Thieu River marks a divide along the India Myanmar border and has been in news over the last few months as Myanmar has been going through a political crisis and refugees from the Chin state have been crossing over into Mizoram. So these airstrikes represent the instability in our neighboring country ever since there was a military coup in 2021 and how these events have destabilized the region, which has had an impact on India's interests in the region. See, to further understand the significance of these events, you need to understand the importance of India Myanmar border. India and Myanmar share a border which is around 1643 kilometers in length, which stretches across the states of Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. This is a very sensitive, delicate border as the geography and the terrain is very complicated, as it is dominated by hilly mountainous areas, remote dense forests, and thus the border is a porous border which is highly vulnerable for infiltration, which has enabled northeast insurgents from across northeastern states to easily cross over into Myanmar to find a safe haven in the neighboring country. And several northeast insurgent groups, such as ULFA, NSCN, especially the Kaplang faction of NSCN, and several other prominent northeast insurgent outfits, have often crossed over this sensitive border to find a shelter in Myanmar. Particularly the Naga rebel groups share close connections on the other side of the border, as Naga subgroups can be found in Myanmar as well, and the demand of Naga insurgency has been to create Nagalim or Greater Nagaland, which would bring together all the Naga inhabited areas, not just in India, but also in neighboring Myanmar. Along with being a safe haven for these insurgents, this sensitive border has also been exploited by organized criminals who are engaged in drug trafficking, arms smuggling, trafficking of wildlife products in the Golden Triangle region that borders India, which is located at the tri-junction of Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand. This convergence of organized crime with insurgency has created a major border security challenge for India and has been a security nightmare as far as the Assam Rifles is concerned, which is the designated border guarding force along this delicate border. So, for several decades, Northeast insurgents have thrived and survived by seeking support and shelter in neighboring Myanmar by using their contacts and sometimes also by taking help from China, which has been reportedly involved in backing some of these insurgents against India. Similarly, in Myanmar as well, there are a number of ethnic tribal groups such as Kachins, Chins, and others who have been leading their own insurgent wars against Myanmar's military junta since several decades, which has made the region extremely volatile as far as the security and geopolitical situation is concerned. These border threats have only become aggravated since 2021 as Myanmar's military again captured power in the country by toppling the elected government and by nullifying the elections. And since then, the military junta has been engaged in a bloody battle against pro democracy protesters who have taken up insurgency against the military dictatorship. To crush this rebellion and to target the pro democracy movement, Myanmar's military has resorted to aerial strikes and over the last few months has been leading a brutal military campaign to not just consolidate its power but also to crush the rebellion. Recently in October, Myanmar carried out airstrikes in the Kachin state located in the northern part of Myanmar where a number of civilians were killed at a concert. Similar incidents have been reported along Myanmar's borders with Bangladesh and Thailand as well, where a number of civilians and protesters have been killed. And these military strikes and aerial bombardments have become quite common, which is further pushing the country into a deeper crisis. And all these events have direct ramifications for India. After targeting the Kachins in the north and few other ethnic groups and pro-democracy protesters along the Thai border and Bangladesh border, now Myanmar's military has concentrated on the Chin community in the Chin state that neighbors India's Mizoram. And these airstrikes have been specifically targeted at Camp Victoria, which is one of the major base camps of the Chin National Front and its armed wing, the Chin National Army. This group has been leading an ethnic armed insurgency against Myanmar since several decades, and now this rebel group has merged with other pro-democracy resistance groups which are operating under the umbrella of People's Defense Force. These groups have been fighting to restore democracy in the country, and particularly in the Chin state and as well as in Kachin and the Sagaing region, the pro-democracy movement has gained momentum, and Myanmar's military, which has become increasingly insecure, has targeted the rebels and pro-democracy movement by using massive military force, including random airstrikes, which has led to very high civilian casualties and has triggered a major refugee crisis. And as a result, India has been forced to deal with the fallout of these events. See, traditionally, India and Myanmar share very close strategic relations, and quite often India has stayed away from interfering with Myanmar's internal issues, as India's ties with Myanmar's military is absolutely critical to protect India's security interests in the northeast. Myanmar's military has often helped India to conduct joint operations and to secure the border and to target the organized criminals and northeast insurgents. In the recent past, India and Myanmar have even conducted joint counterinsurgency operations, such as Operation Sunrise 1 and Sunrise 2. And India has even extended a lot of military and economic support to Myanmar's military rule. This has been a very realistic foreign policy approach of India to protect its core security interests and foreign policy interests by maintaining good ties with Myanmar's military, irrespective of what is happening inside the country. This approach of India is also driven by the fact that China has a considerable influence in Myanmar and with the military junta, and hence India has never directly criticized the repeated military coups seen in Myanmar, and India had followed the same approach when Rohingyas were also targeted by Myanmar's army and the radical Buddhists in the country. But now this position of India has become increasingly unsustainable as the crisis in Myanmar is spilling over into India and more than 50,000 refugees have been pushed into Mizoram and also into Manipur. Especially from the Chin state, the Chin community, which shares very close cultural links with the Mizos and Kukis on the Indian side, have started crossing over into India in large numbers by moving across the Thiyu River. And these border states, especially Mizoram and Manipur, have already been accommodating these refugees out of humanitarian grounds and also because of the close links and connections they share with the other groups in Myanmar. Apart from receiving refugees and the injured, it has been noted that from Mizoram and Manipur, there has been a flow of weapons and other essential supplies to support the rebels and the pro-democracy movement which is fighting this conflict against Myanmar's military rule. So this could also have serious implications for India-Myanmar relations. The government of India had in fact urged Mizoram and Manipur not to take in the refugees when the crisis began in 2021. But the state governments especially Mizoram, have gone against the orders of the center, as the ethnic groups in Mizoram share very close connections with the Chins and other ethnic tribes in Myanmar. So, across Mizoram, several refugee camps have come up where these refugees from the Chin state have been accommodated. And now the airstrikes which have hit Indian territory could further complicate the situation, as it presents a very serious challenge for India's interests in the region. On this note, I would like to bring my discussion to an end. And if you found the initiative to be helpful, do support us by liking the video, share your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.